Hey Marvelites, are you done thinking about Spider-Man Far From Home? Because we're not. This is the last Marvel movie we're getting for a while, and we're gonna ride this hype train as long as we can. So here we are, another episode talking about Spider-Man Far From Home.
Dreaming about teaming up with a superhero? Heartbroken about the latest comic death? Do you find your conversations always turning to Marvel? Then welcome Marvelites to your therapy session. Join your hosts as we explore the realms of the Marvel Universe, taking you into new insights, movie reviews, and debates. Here, we won't try to cure any obsessions, but fuel them because the world is better nerdy. Welcome to your Marvel Therapy Group.
Jack, take it away.
Yeah, okay. I wasn't prepared for that. So today, just because we got another movie that had some Spider-Man stuff in it, and we know they're building up to another one, clearly, I thought today we could talk about villains we'd want to see in future Spider-Man movies.
Yeah, and so I want to say, first of all, I don't think that we need one more villain, I think. But I really think that for the third Spider-Man movie, whenever it may be, it's going to be a Sinister Six.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about that, because it's like, I was thinking about who they need, because they're clearly building up to a Sinister Six movie. So right now, just looking at the list, they have Michael Keaton as Vulture, Brokeen Woodbine as Shocker, Michael Mando as Scorpion, and possibly Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio, although...
No, I agree.
Alive or dead.
He could easily come back, I think.
I think he could easily come back, although I feel like I don't know. I don't know how to feel either way, because I feel like if there was a chance he would be alive, they would have hinted on it already.
Maybe. We also have the Tinkerer, right? I think the Tinkerer was in Homecoming.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right.
Did you say the Shocker?
Yep, Shocker was in it.
Yep, Shocker. And we have the Prowler. Childish Gambino was the guy that Spider-Man went to interrogate.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he has a nephew, Miles. So we have the Prowler too.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how that is six, right? Vulture, Scorpion, Prowler, Shocker, Mysterio, Scorpion, Tinkerer.
Yeah, Scorpion.
That's six. There we go.
I feel like they'd want to have one more big villain in it, you know?
Yeah. Like,
I feel like they want one more big name.
the Tinkerer, you can take or leave the Tinkerer. I had to think about that. Was he in Homecoming? I think so. So
Donald Glover's character doesn't seem like he'd be the kind of guy who would be a super villain either. He was just like normal Joe.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
there's been a few years. There's been over 5 years.
That's true.
Yeah. But no, I do think they need to bring in at least one more big name villain, like the Rhino.
Well, I guess just looking online, I guess the big talk for the next one is Kraven the Hunter is the name that's being tossed around a lot.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot about that. You're right, that has been a big topic of conversation. Do you know much about Kraven the Hunter?
A little bit. I read a storyline in the Ultimate Spider-Man comics, the series by Brian Michael Bendis, that had Kraven as like the main villain. Oh, so I kind of know his deal. In that series, he was like he had this reality TV show where he hunts big animals, and he decides he's gonna go hunt Spider-Man live on TV.
Okay. And people were supporting this?
Yeah, people were supporting it. People don't like Spider-Man.
Oh. But it's okay. Was he trying to capture Spider-Man or straight up murder Spider-Man?
Unclear.
Okay.
Joe, a lot of weird stuff happens in the Marvel comics. I have a hard time believing this is where you draw the line.
So he doesn't have any powers or anything? He's just a really good hunter?
Really good hunter. Well, he's like, he's just like super, super fit, super athletic. good at traps and weapons and hunting.
Oh yeah, like
Animals.
okay, weaponry. That yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, see, they're kind of in a corner though because they've had Michael Keaton and Jake Gyllenhaal already, so they're going with big like A-list celebrities to play these villains. So whoever they do get for the next one also needs to be like a big A-list celebrity.
Yeah.
So it's like they can't just do what Marvel normally does, which is kind of get celebrities who are sort of on the cusp of becoming famous, because they've set up this precedent in the other Spider-Man movies.
But again, they're actors. Like you can get whoever you want. They have a job to do. If they find like an unknown who's going to be really good at being Kraven the Hunter, just advertising Kraven might be enough. I mean, it's Marvel, so just advertising a Marvel movie is going to be enough.
That's true. I don't know. I feel like they'd want to go big, but who knows?
At this point, who else is left that Marvel hasn't gotten?
That's true. I do have some names I came up with for who could play Kraven the Hunter.
Okay, is Kraven Russian?
I do not know.
Oh, okay. I feel like he is. Could be wrong.
He's somewhat ethnic. I don't think he's white. So I do think they need. I don't think they could. I don't know. I don't think he's white though. So I think they would need sort of a more. They need like a diverse casting to play the guy.
Mm-hmm. There must be a famous Russian actor that no one has heard of in America.
Well, I think it's too bad DC already scooped him up because Jason Momoa would have killed it in this role.
Oh, I can see that.
But yeah, so I'll still put Jason Momoa on this list because he would kill it. But besides that, I had Oscar Isaac, or Poe Dameron from Star Wars. He was also Apocalypse in the X-Men movies, but
No, was he?
We're not gonna hold that against him.
I had no idea. I've also never seen that movie.
Really?
Well, I've seen parts of it, but that's
Does
as
it
much.
offend you?
Yes, that's as much as I'm willing to watch. The parts of it that happened to be on TV while I was in the same room.
I feel like you try to leave the room as quickly as possible when it's on, though. So yeah, Oscar Isaac was one of my names. Javier Bardem is another one. He was the main bad guy in No Country for Old Men and Skyfall.
I'm quickly IMDbing these people as you say them.
Okay.
So are you going on acting experience or look?
Acting, look, name recognition, because like I said, I feel like this guy has to have some name recognition.
Okay.
Yeah, Javier Bardem has a lot of name recognition. He's done some big stuff.
So far I can see both of them. Just by look.
He could play a real creepy villain, so I mean, I feel like if Kraven's not that powerful, if you had Javier Bardem playing him, that would be big. He'd be freaky enough that Spider-Man would be terrified of him.
Yeah, true. He's a 16-year-old kid being hunted. He should be freaked out.
And the last name I have, so going back on my diverse casting comment originally, just because I feel like people wouldn't care if it was this guy, is Keanu Reeves.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So what is up with all the Keanu Reeves, like, fandom lately?
People like him.
I get that.
He's a badass. You ever see the John Wick movies?
I have not.
He kicked butt.
Yeah, it was a mix of things, right? He was in John Wick. He's like, I don't know, he had some good person stories come out about him.
Yeah, he's been famous for a while from The Matrix. And,
Yeah, he's been famous for a while, but just lately, he's really been trending. And then Marvel's been talking about getting him for something.
But, yeah.
What?
Yeah, I think it's mostly because of John Wick that he's sort of having a renaissance in his career, but yeah, Marvel apparently really wants him in a movie.
Yeah. I've heard people saying Keanu Reeves for everything. From the Silver Surfer to now Kraven.
Any role he would just play Keanu Reeves, but I mean, why not? If you're looking for an A-list celebrity to face Tom Holland, Keanu Reeves.
Mm-hmm.
Right, well, so another name for a potential Spider-Man villain that's also being tossed around a lot is Chameleon.
Oh. I forgot about that guy.
Yeah,
Yes,
or not
but
shapeshifter, but he's the master of disguise.
I think that would be a really important way to go, because we just had Mysterio, and like that's a good transition. Chameleon. Plus, the Chameleon is well known enough, but would also fit in well with the Sinister Six.
I feel like you'd have to do him as like a secondary villain, but not the main villain.
Right. Right.
Like, I think if you were to do Kraven the Hunter, Kraven would be the main villain, and then Chameleon could be a side villain.
Yeah. Okay, so if Kraven the Hunter ends up being the villain for Spider-Man 3, assuming we're getting a Spider-Man 3,
Mm-hmm.
would it still be a Sinister Six? Or would it just be Kraven the Hunter?
I think it would just be Kraven the Hunter.
Okay.
Maybe you keep building towards the Sinister Six, maybe.
And the Sinister Six could be like an Avengers level movie.
No. That's too Suicide Squad-y, Joe. We don't want to go there.
Really? No, not the Sinister Six themselves. But you build them up, and then you bring in a bunch of heroes to fight them.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, as long as it's, like, not a Sinister Six movie, I'm okay with that.
No.
Now that's Suicide Squad-y for me.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. No, you build it up as a main threat. Or when they introduce Norman Osborn, he rounds them up. And like at the end of the movie you find out that he was the one who got them all together to go attack Spider-Man. Or the Kingpin.
Yeah, bring back Vincent D'Onofrio.
But at the end you find out that the Sinister Six were henchmen. And they didn't even know it. Then it sets it up for another huge name.
Maybe. There's a lot they could do.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to Chameleon, though, I was actually just looking up who could play him. He apparently was actually in Spider-Man Far From Home. Fun fact.
Really?
Yeah, so you remember the grumpy S.H.I.E.L.D. agent who was driving the bus, who works for Nick Fury?
Yeah.
He is credited as Dmitry Smirnoff. He has a really Russian last name, but apparently his credit is the civilian identity of Chameleon.
Okay.
So he could potentially already be in this universe.
Yeah. That's weird. I like it. I like how they introduced it, but that's weird.
I mean, we've known that we've seen evil S.H.I.E.L.D. agents before, so we know they exist.
Yeah. And we know that Nick Fury is MIA, so, I mean, it's a Skrull. He doesn't have the same skill set as Nick Fury, so we can't, like, pick out which S.H.I.E.L.D. agents are double agents.
Could work. That could be another member.
Yeah. Cool. Or, like, that guy... Oh, so after Spider-Man... okay, this is how it goes. Spider-Man messed up on the bus with the drone. Like, the drone trying to kill the guy, his classmate. So, the S.H.I.E.L.D. agent there, the Chameleon, he gets mad. He's like, I'm a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. I'm trained for espionage and taking down and like, infiltration. Not driving around a 16-year-old who tries to kill his own teammates. So he gets frustrated, and then he turns against S.H.I.E.L.D. or against Spider-Man, and then calls in Kraven.
Maybe.
Yeah. It would be like that scene where it's revealed that Mysterio is the bad guy. Like the scene where they zero in on that scientist, and we see Jeff Bridges screaming at him from the first Iron Man movie.
Mm-hmm.
But it'll be like this. And then, like, zoom in on that character, and he's like, remember this guy? He was the bus driver.
Okay. I could get behind that.
Yeah.
I feel like they kind of have to do it now, otherwise they would have just given him the credit of, like, angry S.H.I.E.L.D. agent.
Yeah. Yeah, so after all of our ideas on Marvel Therapy Group, when's Marvel just gonna hire us?
I know, right? Well, we could just add it to the Marvel canon that we do work for Marvel, or the Marvel Therapy Group canon.
Yep.
The ever-growing Marvel Therapy Group canon.
Marvel is like, why should we hire these people and pay for them when we can just listen to their podcast for free?
No, that's true. Yeah, they're screwing us over.
We'll have to start a Patreon just for Marvel employees. Like those contests. What?
No, go ahead.
Like those contests, like Disney contests, it says you can't enter if you work for Disney or if a family member works for Disney. For us, it'll be like you can't listen to us if you work for Marvel or have family members who do. You have to pay. Patreon.
That's valid. That's valid. Is there any other villains you'd want to see in a
Yes.
Spider-Man movie, Joe?
Yes. Swarm.
I don't know that person, but continue.
Okay. Swarm is a scientist who was under Hitler or in Hitler's regime. And he found this like psychic beehive. I don't know. These bees were mutated and they had super intelligence. Kind of weird. But he decides if I can enslave their queen, then I get to control this intelligent mutated beehive. Super random. He fails, and the hive attacks him and devours him, but leaves his skeleton, but somehow, like, absorbed his consciousness. So, this guy, this Nazi scientist, now embodies, or, like, the bees embody his consciousness, and he kind of controls the hive still, because they surround his skeleton. It's super weird.
This is good old Marvel Comics.
Yeah, it's super weird, but it's really cool. So I was thinking,
Okay.
me being the environmentalist, they could easily spin that. And it doesn't have to be a Nazi scientist, but like you were saying, the Godzilla movie, it starts off with a radical group of environmentalists, and they're like, let's bring the... what are they called?
The Titans.
The Titans in, and they'll right the natural order of nature. So the scientist is like, let's control the bees, because they're going extinct. And then he goes too far. And it can be in New York City.
I feel like that was an episode of Black Mirror. There was, like, controlling bees.
It was. Yeah, they had those metallic bees, but someone hijacked it. That's not the word I'm looking for. Hacked it. Someone hacked the system
Yeah.
and had the bees murder people. That was a Black Mirror episode.
That was a Black Mirror.
So what if this
Shall we
scientist
get Black Mirror?
is an employee of Oscorp?
That's what I was thinking. I was listing just other villains who could be in this movie, and obviously you gotta think about Green Goblin. But I think it'd honestly be kind of weird to introduce Oscorp and Green Goblin now, because they've never been referenced ever in the MCU or any of these movies.
That we know of. Because we still don't know who bought Stark Tower.
That's true, but I mean, it just seems weird there'd be like a super powerful, like rich company that just no one has ever heard of suddenly just popping up.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It could just suddenly pop up. Like, it doesn't have to have been in existence this whole time. It just could be a company starting up. Or, like, by a really rich, evil guy. But,
Maybe. Stranger things have happened in that universe.
yeah. Also, Roxxon. Roxxon's been mentioned throughout the movies, but, like, what happened with Roxxon?
Has it?
Yeah. They referenced it. They went back to it in Cloak and Dagger. But that's really as far into Roxxon as we got.
I know it's a really big part of Jason Aaron's Thor run, is Roxxon.
Uh-huh.
But that's all I know about that company.
Okay. Well, same kind of thing. It's the same kind of thing as, like, AIM, Advanced Idea Mechanics. It's just an evil company that pops up every once in a while and produces a villain. You know, as Marvel companies do.
Oh, so what do you think about this idea I stumbled across? So, I was thinking it'd be kind of nice if they could gender swap one villain, so it's not just a group, like Sinister Six isn't just a group of 6 men.
Doc Ock.
Mix it up. Well, I was thinking Doc Ock, but the problem is Spider-Verse already did that.
No, that's why. I really liked that. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, I mean, that could work. Like the name that floated around online was Electro as a woman.
Okay. Might be too soon, because they did Electro in The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, it almost feels like they need to do it now just to fix that because that was bad.
Yeah.
That was really bad.
It really was. They did too much. That's the issue that all the Spider-Man movies have, though. They're like, they just throw in villains because there are so many of them.
Mm.
And then they don't... It's hard to do a good story with so many characters if you don't address all the characters. But then if you address all the characters, it's not a good movie.
Yeah, it's like, especially with the Amazing Spider-Man franchise, like they just wanted this universe to be set up without doing any of the hard work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I feel like Marvel kind of wants that too, but at least they're content to take their well, they want to take their time, but fans are just we expect everything to already be there, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
So it's like it's like we're no longer just content waiting 6 years for a team up movie. We just want all these characters to already exist.
That's definitely true. Which is why Sinister Six could happen so easily. Because we already have all these villains in place.
Do we even know when the next Marvel movie is going to hit?
No. I think if you look online somewhere you can find a slate. Yes. Okay. So you can find a slate of movies. They're all unnamed except for like the Avatar movies, but it goes until 2027. A list of when all the Disney movies will be released.
Mm-hmm.
And it just says like unnamed Marvel project or something.
Disney has scheduled the release dates for May 1st and November 6th of 2020.
That's so far away.
That is a really long time.
That's a really long time.
It's crazy, actually.
But it's good. Because Endgame just... Like, this Phase 3 just ended.
Mm-hmm.
They can take their time. And they can put together a Phase 4 that's really good.
Well, plus, in the meantime, good segue over into our next topic, because in the meantime, we got TV to keep us entertained.
Yes! Oh, true. With a year in between, I mean, people keep saying superhero fatigue, and I think that's a really small percentage of people, but it's a very outspoken percentage of people. So with a year in between, it might be enough time for those people who can't handle superhero movies anymore to get back in the groove. And be like, oh, these are cool. Like, I'm ready for more superhero action movies.
In the meantime, Avengers Endgame is the second highest grossing movie in history, so I don't think Disney's particularly worried.
That's true, yeah. And then Spider-Man... And then Far From Home had one of the best... Well, the best Tuesday opening. But, like, yeah, it had a huge opening weekend box office. So again, it's a small percentage of people.
I'm not worried.
No, yeah.
I'm not worried. Like, TV time?
Yeah. Unless you have another villain.
No, I'm good.
Oh yeah, so characters like Doc Ock and the Green Goblin, I don't want to see them. I want them to be set up and led up to. Because they're big. You know?
No, that's fair, especially Green Goblin. I feel like Doc Ock you could do easier
Mm-hmm.
without having to set him up, but bar is set really high for Doc Ock as Spider-Man 2, so we'll see.
Okay. You want me to start?
Okay, so Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah, I will let you talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I'm not going to time it this time.
Okay. So we're gonna move into TV shows for a little bit. We're talking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., of course. This might have to be something I do regularly, Jack. I'm no longer... After last week, I'm no longer content just to... Oh, hey, we didn't introduce ourselves. Well, they know who we are. I'm Joe.
I'm Jack, 20 minutes in.
Yeah.
It's more than 20, isn't it?
20, yeah, more than 20. So, after last week, I'm not content to talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. a little bit at a time. Like, it's gonna be a weekly thing.
Okay.
So, we had a breathtaking episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. this past Friday. Like I said last week, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has become the new Game of Thrones. Because they had...
God damn it, that just bugs me that you think that.
I'll get into that, though. They had 3 different points, like 3 different... If it was Game of Thrones, 3 different armies. And they were all converging on one point. And that's what happened in this episode. And it immediately started off with May, Snowflake, Deke, and Daisy trying to defuse an atom bomb. And then the truck that they were in with the atom bomb slammed into the Shrike Tower and it collapsed. And then the Izel and Fitz and Simmons had to go retreat back into the atmosphere because their landing platform was destroyed. Meanwhile, that created an army of, like a swarm of Shrikes flying around and trying to get into the truck to attack those 4. And then you had Sarge taking over the Zephyr with Mac and Yo-Yo and all the other, and Piper, not Piper, but Davis and Agent Diaz. It was a lot.
I'm very lost right now, I'll be honest.
It was a lot. It's okay to be lost, because there are a lot of characters that I just threw at you. See? It's like Game of Thrones. If you start talking about Game of Thrones to someone who hasn't seen it or read it, it's confusing. Game of Thrones. There was even some deaths this episode. In typical Game of Thrones fashion.
Stop!
And it was so funny because I was talking with some people on Twitter, and they were all thinking, like, who's gonna die this episode? And I even commented, that's a really interesting question, because I've only really associated with that with Game of Thrones. The big question there was always, who's gonna die this episode? But AOS, you have a core group of characters that you are pretty sure aren't going to die, because of the main characters. So sure enough, there were some fatalities this episode, which was sad.
Okay.
I'll be okay. And then, but everyone, do you think I can spoil? I mean, I've had minor spoilers. Okay, I'm going for it. Everyone got back together. Yay! They think the day was saved because the atom bomb exploded in space.
I was gonna say that doesn't sound like you saved the day if the atom bomb does explode.
It exploded in space.
Okay.
Yep. So it seems like everything is okay. But at the very end, Piper came back to this party. They explained her being away. She was like, yeah, I took some days off for R&R. It's like, Piper, you know there's a world-threatening event going on. You just left for some relaxation time for yourself? Okay. But anyway, Piper came back. She's hanging out with Davis. And Davis was on the ship trying to track down Izel. But then he falls asleep at the party. Everyone thinks it's funny, because he's had like 1 beer. But he stays asleep for a really long time. So they wouldn't show that if it wasn't like building up to something. So I'm thinking that I'm thinking that Izel, who's the Shrike creator, the Shrike Jack are these like bat things that get inside you and take you over, basically. That Izel, because we don't really know what she does. We don't know who she is, where she came from. We just know that her and Sarge are connected somehow. So I'm thinking that she possessed Davis and then went to go possess May, because May does something shocking at the end of this episode. Do you want to know what it is?
Okay. Sure.
Okay. So Sarge, who's played by Clark Gregg, so he looks exactly like Phil Coulson, May goes in and just shoots him. Like 5 times.
I'm sorry, I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about that.
It's intense. I don't know how I feel about it either. I just hope we get more answers.
And this isn't the final season, right? Because it was supposed to be, and then it wasn't.
Right. Season 5 was... We all thought Season 5 was going to be the last season. But then on the season finale of Season 5, on that day, we found out that Season 6... They renewed the show for Season 6. And then just a few days later, they renewed it for Season 7.
And this is season 6 right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And I think, I was talking to someone on Twitter about this too. Like, even if season 7 is the last season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., as much as I don't want to see it go away, it'll be okay, because really, how many shows maintain the same quality after season 7?
7's a good number for a TV show, I think, too.
It is. Like, that's a really good TV show. If you think about it, that's how long Buffy lasted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also a Joss Whedon show. Kind of.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Legion?
Yeah, so Joe's been watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Meanwhile, I've been watching season 3 of Legion. We are 3 episodes in right now. So far, picks up. I think it picks up maybe a year after season 2 ends. David is he's running this sort of cult with Audrey Plaza's character Lenny, and essentially he's just he's essentially making happiness right now.
Oh.
And so he has all these followers, and he's sort of producing this drug that makes them happy. So it's essentially like meanwhile, I don't know how it's essentially. I don't know what I would compare it to, but it's essentially like he's like a cult leader, and he has all these followers.
Is it a physical drug, Jack, or is he just making people psychically happy?
It's a physical drug. It's like, you remember the smoke things that they use from time to time?
Yes. Yeah, Melanie got high on
it
it a lot in season 2.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of what it is.
Okay.
So meanwhile, everybody else is trying to hunt David down, including Farouk. Farouk is now with all the other characters, and he's trying to help them catch David because they still think he's going to end the world.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, David has he's got a mutant who's a time traveler, and he wants to use her to do something that we haven't really. Without getting into spoilers, he wants to use her to do something. And so now the rest of the people who are hunting David down are really afraid because they know they literally can't catch David if he just has a time traveler, and the time traveler can just go back, and if they ever do catch him, they can just go back and reverse it.
Okay. I was gonna say that's not how time travel works, but because of Endgame, but different universe, different rules.
Yeah, but essentially, still really good show. The production design is amazing as always. It's super weird and trippy and just insane, and all the actors are really good.
What is?
And in the most recent episode, we met Professor X.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, he's in the most recent one.
Which actor?
His name is. I think it's Henry. No, it's not. It might be Harry Lloyd. I think. 1 second.
So it's not McAvoy or Stewart.
No, it's a different guy.
Okay.
Legion Professor X.
I mean, I'm fine with that. Different actors happen.
Harry Lloyd is the guy's name. He was on. He was Viserys Targaryen in the first season of Game of Thrones, and he's been on Doctor Who.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's been in some stuff. He was in the episode. You remember the episode where David Tennant's character has to act like a human, so he goes back to like the 1920s boarding school?
Kind of.
He was like one of the main people that got taken over by the aliens in that episode.
Okay.
Yeah, he's doing a really good job. I hope we see more of him, but yeah, so far I'm digging Legion.
That's really cool. So I just finished, literally 2 days ago, as of this recording, I just finished season 2 of Legion. Because it took forever for it to get onto Hulu, and I didn't know where else to watch it. So I just finished season 2. I didn't bother to rewatch season 1 because I didn't have the time, so I just powered through season 2. But it's really good. And you're right, the show is like what'd you call it? The screen design?
Production values?
No, you said design. Production design?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it. I just love the really weird things. And this show is it.
Oh, it's so weird.
Like, my second favorite movie is Lucy, the one with Scarlett Johansson.
I haven't seen it.
Okay. So, admittedly, like, it's not the best movie, especially because the science is completely wrong. But if you if you ignore the science, it's such a weird movie. It's such an abstract movie. I love it. And movies like this Code, like things that you don't really
I
know what's
vaguely-
happening.
Oh yeah, well, Legion. Yeah, I think that's like half the charm of this. That's like I think that's like the love it or hate it aspect of the show is that like you have no idea what's happening half the time, so you just have to kind of go with it.
Although season 2, so there were some points in the episodes where I'd be like, "Oh, what's happening now?" But I was able to keep on top of it and keep track and understand what was happening. So I didn't know if like I was just really intelligent for figuring that out, or if it helped us watching it consecutively, like episode after episode. I don't know. Mix of both, sure.
Yeah.
One thing I thought was, and I'm sorry, this is season 2 again. Like, so the season starts off with Lenny and Aubrey Plaza's character, and what's Jermaine Clemens' character's name? Oliver.
I don't remember his name. But I know what
Oliver.
you're talking about
Oliver.
Oliver.
So they're on pool floats, and they're just in a pool, and Aubrey Plaza's laughing, and Lenny's laughing and saying, "We're trapped," and it zooms out to Farouk's head, then it zooms out to Oliver, or someone else. And I always associated Lenny with the Shadow King. It wasn't until this season that I realized that Lenny was her own person. I just thought she was an iteration of the Shadow King. And it wasn't until later in the season that I realized those two were actually trapped inside the Shadow King's head.
Well, wasn't it? She wasn't a person originally, and she took over the body of David's sister.
She did. Yes. That's a little confusing to me still. I don't know if Lenny herself was created by the Shadow King, because the Shadow King was kind of always a parasite in David's life, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I still don't know if Lenny was a real person that the Shadow King killed and took over, or it was always a figment of David's imagination. I'm not sure. But yeah, she took over, or she was like implanted in Amy's body.
She's like reborn in Amy's body.
Yeah, that was creepy. Oh, do you remember the name of the time traveler in season 3?
No, why?
Oh, because I was trying to think of time traveling mutants.
I don't know if she's a comic book character or not. Oh yeah, the way they do time travel is really cool. Like, not to spoil anything, but it's very trippy. It goes very well with the style of this show.
Good. I'm excited. So it's only episode 3, you said?
Yep, just 3 episodes in. I'm actually not sure how long this season is. I'm assuming it's maybe 8 or 10 episodes.
Okay. So I could catch up
And it is the
still.
final season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I can find it somewhere. 3 episodes, I can catch up on that. Yeah. I'll definitely...
We'll reach out to the listeners, ask them if they know where they can find Legion.
Yes, please. I really want to watch the show.
Alright, is there anything else you want to talk about before we sign off?
Still, the creepiest part of Legion is that children's character, or the children's book character that the Shadow King embodies.
The world's angriest boy.
Yeah, the kid that like slits everyone's throats.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so freaky. So freaky.
No, I remember. I really liked season 1. I should rewatch season 2, but I still remember just really liking season 1.
Season 1 was really good, especially that end, like, fight scene where it's Aubrey Plaza and she's taking over everyone
Mm-hmm.
in, like, this haunted house. Yeah. What did you think, if you remember, season 2, when David and the Shadow King have a mental fight?
That was like the perfect way to show that.
Okay.
Because if it wasn't a movie, it would have to be a really big spectacle thing. But on TV, it could just be like that cool, like cartoon battle thing in their minds. That was cool. I thought that was perfect.
I didn't mind it, but you're definitely right. If it's with a bigger budget, a bigger fan base, that's not what I'd want to see. but it worked.
No, I think it's perfect for that show.
It was, yeah, definitely like fit with the vibe of the show. So, Marvelites, if you watch Legion, let us know what you think. Also, if you know where I can catch up on the first 3 episodes, or by the time this episode comes out, maybe 4, by the time you listen, I know where I can catch up on the first 4 episodes of Legion, let me know. Because I want to watch it. So, Jack, let's do like 2 more wrap-up questions. What do you think is going to happen in Spider-Man 3?
I have no idea, but I'm really excited about it.
Perfect answer. I'm thinking, like, if they do Sinister Six, they're going to go kidnap Aunt May. Or MJ. Second...
They always get kidnapped, though, so hopefully they'll do something different.
Yeah, maybe. Second wrap-up question, predictions for Legion Season 3?
Joe, Legion is way too trippy for me to have any prediction as to what's going to happen.
That's fair. Alright. Again, Marvelites, if you have any predictions on any of those 2 topics, let us know. 3 topics if you want to guess what's going to happen in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Thanks for tuning in, and find us on all social media and wherever you listen to podcasts. So feel free to rate, follow, subscribe, leave a comment, whatever it is you do on the internet. Find us, and tune in again next week.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's Marvel Therapy Group, where together we can work through our comic thoughts and learn to live beside them. Views expressed are of the host only and do not reflect Marvel Studios or comics in any way. Hosts are in no way qualified to provide therapy. This is simply the name of the podcast. This has been another Marvel Therapy Group session.